I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Can you hear me now? Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Can I get a second?
I'll second that. I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It's 4-0. Trustee Chimino is not here tonight at all. And now we are going to convene to close session, anticipated litigation, item 3A.
Test, test, test.
We'll call the meeting to order. Item 4A, there was no action taken in closed session. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 5A, Technology High School Beliefs on Student Learning.
Do we have Principal Spencer? Okay. I'm so excited that we have our second school showcase tonight, and we're going to hear from Technology High School and the wonderful programs that are research-based and happening there. Also wanted to remind the board that Technology High School is the 2021 National Blue Ribbon recipient, which is very exciting. So I want to applaud the work of the staff and the students.
May I take it off, or do I wear it? I can take off the mask? Okay. Well, thank you, Board of Trustees and Dr. Perez, for this opportunity to share with you tonight a bit about Technology High School. I'm Michelle Spencer, the new principal. I started teaching in 1991. Yikes, and this is the Cotate Rohnert Park is the 6th school district I've been with due to personal moves and professional advancement. And I can honestly say in 30 years, Technology High School is truly the very best program I've been a part of. As you know, Technology High is a STEM school. It's a school of choice. We have a 3-year engineering course sequence requirement as part of graduation. And we are actively striving to infuse the arts into our STEM program, including band and drama. So we're trying to get to STEAM, but the A is kind of a small A right now. We're not fully integrated into STEAM. We were recently awarded the National Blue Ribbon School recognition, and we haven't had a chance to celebrate that yet, but we fully intend to celebrate and to invite all of you to join us in that celebration. This is Technology High School staff. This is all of us. They deserve so much credit for making our school the special place that it is for students. As I mentioned, THS has been the best program that I've been a part of in my 30-year career, and I'm not just saying that. During my first week, when I first was hired, I had the opportunity to have one-on-one meetings with each staff, privately, individually, and I asked them the same question: what do you treasure about Technology High School? And I was a little dismayed at the consistency of what they said. They said, I treasure these students, I treasure their individuality, I cherish our culture, and I feel protective and bonded with my colleagues. In each individual's way, they said the same thing over and over. And I thought, wow, this is rare. I've worked at 2 other small schools of choice that had a focus, and I've never heard that kind of consistency. And of course, being the geek that I am, it reminded me of Richard Dufour's text on professional learning communities. And Dufour talks about that shared values shape school culture. And he really addresses, this is a brief quote in his text, but he really addresses the that the shared values and the culture is the secret sauce of school success, and that kind of alignment can really move the needle on student learning. So I thought, well, let's just do a survey, shall we? And get some qualitative data. So I've done this survey before, and I just sent each staff member a very simple survey. It was entirely anonymous. They just had to indicate if they were a teacher, and then I said, forced rank, select the one statement that is most true for your belief system. What are your personal beliefs on student learning? And these were the 5 choices. And when you read over the 5 choices, if you were thinking about your beliefs on student learning, you might find that you're split between a couple of different choices. But it's always, I think, important to see if you had to pick one, what one would you pick? What we found is, first of all, the consistency. To do a survey and have 83% of the respondents, which were 100% of the teachers, say the same thing, first of all, that consistency is noteworthy. And it aligns with Dufour's, I think, practice that if you can get normed around culture, and if you can share that culture, then you can make a difference. So the most popular choice was the high standards for all choice. And I know it seems kind of like, well, isn't that supposed to be the right answer? But honestly, having done this survey before, when you ask somebody their personal beliefs on student learning, it really can run the gamut of those choices. And these were our results. And just as an interesting side note, a very similar school that I was principal of, we did the same survey, and they had great results, consistent. Over half the staff, teaching staff, believed that. And then you compare that to what's going on at Technology High School. That's statistically valid. Right? So how do we create this environment that really engages students in the academic work that results in a high level of their achievement? Well, at Tech High, you know, it's a project-based learning school. And as I've spent time in the classroom since school started, I've been seeing embodied Zaretta Hammond's warm demander stance. And if you're familiar with Zaretta Hammond, you'll know that she has a quadrant where there's high active demandingness and then high personal warmth. And she calls that an ideal blend, the warm demander. And what I'm seeing in the classrooms is just that. Building trusting relationships so that the students know that they are individually seen and that their individualism is appreciated. A phenomenally surprising banter of jokes happening all the time that are gentle and I think are encouraging acceptance. And so it's neat to see that play out in the classrooms. Then we also think about how students, all human beings, how are we put together? We have this sort of quadrant approach. We all have personal aptitudes, and we all have personal passions. And if you kind of look at the 4 dimensions of like what we can be focused on as a student, you know, there's some of us have a genius zone where there's passion and aptitude, right? Or maybe you have high passion, but you're not very good at it, but you want to be good at it. If we think about standardized testing, what standardized testing measures, and it's important to measure, I'm not doubting that for a minute, it measures often where our students are most deficient, which would be in the lower left-hand quadrant, where they need to persist. And I think sometimes the biggest challenges in helping students persist in learning is to help them see that they can have genius and passion and aptitude in other areas that we can then draw them in and engage them in learning and persisting in some of the difficult standards. So we also do that through project-based learning. We at Tech High are still working on our own alignment. What are the critical elements of project design? Are we using shared vocabulary and language? And so we're doing some norming, and we spent some of our time for those first 2 PD days getting aligned on that. And we're looking at these 8 elements predominantly as part of our alignment. I'm just going to call out a couple of them because they're often misunderstood. So we'll have a driving question, which is a highly engaging question. It links directly to standards, but it doesn't sound like the content standards. It sounds fun or interesting, and it's a great way to sum up a project. It also reminds students, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing it to answer the driving question. We also have a deep commitment to student choice. The more voice and choice students have, it can often increase their engagement. Good old Stephen Covey, again, I'm going back a few years to his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and he in that text wrote about when you give people choices, you can increase their levels of engagement. And so I'm seeing a lot of effort into keeping it in the blue, trying to keep students engaged in, ideally, creative excitement because they have the kinds of choices that are leading them to be personally engaged in a variety of ways. We also want to focus on learning networks. And learning networks are a variety of people that serve as mentors or teachers. So it's not just the teacher who carries the knowledge. It's members of the community. It's students themselves. It's their parents. It's business people. And so we're trying to involve the community. I love this quote, family and community involvement is a kind of a distributed teaching and learning network. And it's rarely just one teacher in charge of all of the learning. There's a hive of activities. COVID is throwing a little wrench in our ability to have the kind of distributed teaching and learning that we want, but we're committed to it, we're ramping up to it, and whenever possible, having that happen virtually as well. So when we look at this Venn diagram and we have students who are aware of their own strengths, and then we also have them being able to, as often as possible, do what they love to do, and then we help them identify a need in the community or in their world. When those 3 things come together for students, they discover their sense of purpose and belonging. They belong in school. Where do they belong in the world? And what is their larger purpose? And that increases their engagement as well. I would say we are definitely focusing this year. The staff is advocating that we try to really cultivate the gifts and talents of all learners and have some cultural sensitivity. I think we do a phenomenal job of recognizing individual students and their individualism, but we want to get better at that. So we're in the early stages of a kind of an equity imperative. We are conducting our community liaison, Rita Balthazar, is conducting right now student focus groups by grade level, asking kids questions, different kinds of questions, listening to their answers, trying to understand why they came here, what it feels like to be a Tech High student, and what their friends are experiencing. We'll be implementing some participation trackers. How many of our students are involved in sports? How many of our students are involved in clubs? How many of our students aren't participating in other things? Why not? How can we increase participation to enhance their sense of belonging on our campus? Once we've finished our student focus groups, we'll have a better understanding of their perspectives, and that'll give us new information and new ways to open up conversations for family outreach. Listening to our families in new ways, getting a better understanding for that. Any student that leaves us, I'm doing exit interviews personally with their parents and asking, why is your child leaving? And learning from that and gathering a lot of, bit by bit, we're not losing many people, but over time it'll show some probably interesting qualitative perspectives that can also inform our messages. Our marketing messages, I don't think they've been A/B tested. I don't think we've run them through the gamut to know, is there something subliminal in our messages that is accidentally excluding students? Yes, we have entrance requirements, and yes, we're a STEAM school, but there's so many students that would fit with us, and are we reaching them? Are we doing enough to build partnerships with our elementary and middle school partners throughout the district? So these are some aspirational things that we're striving for, to do better and to really meet the needs of our community with the best of our ability. So I leave you with this quote. And before I leave you with the quote, I also want to tell you something that our students are doing. Oh, I really want to tell you about this. We're also, our students are involved in having voice in this outreach effort. We have a team of students working with the Sonoma County's DALE program. And the mission of DALE program is to prepare, support, and create conditions for empowerment for high school students who seek to promote educational justice in their school. And we have a team of 4 students in that program: Addison Pickrell, Andrew Dye, Juliana Pon, and Hansa Tariq. And the team is beginning to plan school-wide surveys across the county at selected schools that focus on mental health, including Technology High School. And so they will be utilizing that survey information with the DALE group to highlight and better inform key mental health issues facing Sonoma County, and to inform our school actions and our marketing messages and how we listen to our community. So I leave you with this quote: the teacher, of course, is an artist, but being an artist does not mean that he or she can make the profile, can shape the students. What the educator does in teaching is to make it possible for the students to become themselves. And I'm truly proud to say to you, I am seeing that embodied in our staff and in our school culture, and we're going to keep trying to get better at it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, public comment. First up is Jen Bodlovich.
Hello, School Board of Trustees and Superintendent Perez. My name is Jen Bodlovich. Last month, educators addressed the board regarding staff wage increases, and we are here again tonight. I too, along with many other educators, spoke and I noted 2 specific items from my speech, and I just wanted to remind you of them this evening. One was to make us, the educators, a planned for line item for a cost of living increase in each annual budget. And 2, a 3-year wage increase agreement. So please reach out to me. I'm willing to engage in dialogue. I know that our executive board also is there to have you reach out to them. And speaking of reaching out, back in the summer of 2016, just to share with you something that I learned when I attended a CTA President's Conference, it was an eye-opening understanding that I was given a new view of school board knowledge. There was a presentation of a recently elected school board member and who was also a teacher in a neighboring city. And so she presented to us and said that as a school board member, they primarily hear from the district. So she was sharing with us that it's really important that the educators reach out to the school board members so they can learn and hear and see both sides. So again, I know our executive board has reached out to you. I have reached out to a board member also previously, and we're just an email away to set up a time to meet and engage in some dialogue. But I also want to note that with that too, it is two-way communication, and the school board can also reach out to us. So if you want to hear that other side, please reach out to us. We're here. So on a different topic, actually the reason why I'm speaking tonight, I would like to talk about a topic of awareness. Our union has an LGBTQ+ committee, and I have stepped into that role this year to be our union representative. I would like to share with the board some information about the committee this evening. The goal of the committee is to support LGBTQ staff and students and promote awareness and education on this topic. We've had one meeting so far and plan to meet monthly. And the conversation at our first meeting was productive and inspiring, and also a recognition and realization of there's so much to learn. We did start talking about some of the laws that support LGBTQ youth, and just to name two, one is the Fair Education Act that enables educators to talk about LGBTQ community in their social studies curriculum, and this is important so these students can see people like themselves and their families in history. A law that protects the rights of LGBTQ is AB 1266, which is the School Success and Opportunity Act, which allows kids to be permitted to participate in sex-segregated school programs and activities and use facilities consistent with their gender identity. Aside from June being Pride Month, October notes a couple of days that bring awareness to issues LGBTQ youth face. I'd like to share those days with you and a little, some facts. Last Monday was National Coming Out Day. Coming out is a psychological process and often is a difficult process for so many. It's a very personal journey for each individual. Unfortunately, our society has a culture built with societal behavioral norms, which makes it very challenging to live as one's authentic self. But the more we create inclusive, safe environments for LGBTQ, the more we can move toward an inclusive community and society. This Thursday, October 21st, is Spirit Day, and it's the Wear Color Purple Day. On the Pride flag, purple stands for spirit. This day occurs every third Thursday in October. LGBTQ youth disproportionately face bullying and harassment because of their identities. So wearing purple supports them and is a way to visibly show solidarity to stand with them. According to GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, 70% of LGBTQ students report being verbally harassed. 70%. These kids need our support. Next month, on November 20th, is Transgender Day of Remembrance and honors the memory of the transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of anti-transgender violence. Last year, in 2020, the Human Rights Campaign, the HRC, tracked 44 fatalities. And this year, as of October, there are already 39 deaths. Transgender kids can identify as early as age 3. This is a day to remember those lost, but also to help advocate for awareness and support. The educators need to be educated. As you can hear, this marginalized group needs support in the forms of education, awareness, and inclusion. And when we know more, we can be more. Thank you for your time.
Jim Gregoretti.
Good evening, Dr. Perez, Board President Gillies, Board members Brown, Chimino, Wing, and Nelson. My name is Jim Gregoretti, and I live at 1197 Cielo Circle here in Rohnert Park. As the bargaining chair and state council rep for RIPSIA, I attended the Redwood Service Center Council this past Saturday at the CTA office in Santa Rosa. While I was there, a common theme for the districts that were in attendance was the lack of substitute teachers in Sonoma County and beyond. We then began to talk about the various pay rates for substitute teachers. I wanted to share what other districts are paying for their subs. Travis Unified is paying $282 a day. If you are a retired teacher, you're getting $437 a day. Fairfield Unified is paying in a range between $250 to $310 per day. Napa Unified is paying $250 a day. Petaluma recently changed its rate to $200. Old Adobe's at $210. Healdsburg's at $185. Santa Rosa City Schools are paying $300 per day. And if subs work 40 days consecutively, they qualify for a $1,400 longevity bonus. The sad thing about that is that $300 a day doesn't even match the per diem rate of a brand new teacher in this district at $47,326. The rate at CRP USD is at $150. If your sole form of income is being a substitute teacher, why would anyone be a guest teacher in our district? Both our guest teachers and our full-time teachers are underpaid. I have heard talk that SCO would be getting involved in an attempt to level the playing field, capping the sub rate throughout the county and subsidizing districts whose rate does not meet the cap. But why is the district still paying $150 a day? We know that there is a substantial shortage of subs throughout the county, but our pay rate is way lower than our neighboring districts. I actually had a sub scheduled to cover my class on Monday, my classes on Monday, but found out that they canceled at the last minute. Could it be that they had a job offer at a district that paid more? The reason I bring this up is that the district needs to be proactive and not reactive. Tomorrow, RIPSIA and the district have our mediation meeting. I urge the district to be proactive, not reactive, when it comes to our unit members, and provide us with a multi-year wage offer that gives us a well-deserved wage increase, an offer that respects what we do each and every day for our students, our parents, and our community. The ball's in your court. It's time to take care of your educators, your counselors, your SLPs, and your nurses. Remember, it's time for us. Thank you for your time.
Dr. Stephen Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Steve Lewis. My connection directly to CRP USD is a little tenuous, other than my lovely wife and my daughter are both faculty members at Rancho Cotate. Through them and many of the other people here in the audience who I've got to know, I've been able to understand exactly what Mr. Gregoretti just talked to you about. A few years ago, I had signed up to be a sub at Rancho, got involved in other things in my retirement from being a marine geophysicist, university professor, and I stopped being a sub. Listening to the trauma that they've been experiencing that Mr. Gregoretti just helped describe to you, I started the process just a week ago to re-up my sub-credential. You know, that's one of the few little things I can do to support the faculty at CRP-USD in their dire need because of understaffing, underpay. I completely endorse all of the requests that RIPSIA is putting before you. These people do the work. They deserve the recognition and the respect that comes with reasonable wages. You know, we can go through all of the different school districts in Sonoma County and make comparisons, That's all reasonable. The numbers speak for themselves, but they don't seem to have the qualitative, emotional impact that is required. So I thought I would talk about a metaphor. The metaphor is a professional football team. They need the guys on the field, those 53 people who are out there every week winning or not winning the football games. They are the equivalent of the faculty at CRP-USD. There's the head coach, there are the assistant coaches, there the managers, there are the board of directors, there's the owner who writes the big checks. They're all on the same team. Sometimes there's conflict, sometimes they've got to negotiate salary contracts and all that stuff we read about in the Press Democrat every day, but they're all on the same team. I don't understand why there has to be such an adversarial relationship that quite clearly has gone on for years and years at CRP-USD between the Board of Trustees, the managers, the head coach, blah, 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 following the metaphor, and the guys who are actually on the field winning the football games. We know that you guys cannot produce the best education for our students that you can if you don't get the best people on the field, and you're not going to be able to get the best people on the field if you are outbid for every new teacher who comes out of Sonoma State or wherever to one of these other districts. You just heard the numbers for the subs. Gosh, you know, now I'm maybe rethinking where I'm going to try to apply to be a sub, you know, 300, 400, maybe even more. You know, maybe a retired university professor could get that high rate that we just heard about. I don't know. I'd like to, you know, play for my team, but gee, sometimes you've got to count the dollars. I wish we could all play on the same team to get the players, get the faculty at CRP-USD what they really deserve. Thank you very much.
Next up, it just says Kristen. There's no last name.
I've never done this before. I'm a proud parent with a collective 20 years at CRP-USD with children who have attended Monte Vista, Lawrence Jones, and Rancho Cotate High School. I'd like to start by thanking the board for all of the work that you do. Not sure how many are aware, but these board positions are nearly volunteer positions. I would not want to trade places or email inboxes with any of you ever. I believe at your core, each of you are all here because you want CRP-USD to be a thriving school district, providing quality education to our community. I want to encourage you all to really push on this district to provide appropriate wages for our teachers and add them as a line item in the budget. Failure to do so will result in the loss of quality educators in this district as they leave for higher wages. This will deprive the students of CRP-USD competent and necessary education services that will cause long-term harm to the entire district and its students. Once a district has a reputation for not paying their teachers fairly or having quality educators, it will take years to recover. Not only will it be difficult to recruit future instructors, but it will impact the enrollment of future students as parents flee to charter schools and private schools. I know this because I am one of those parents. And ultimately, as we all know, every child who opts to enroll elsewhere is a loss of funding for this district. This is an opportunity to make CRP-USD a leader in our county by showing what it means to value our teachers and support staff. Why is our superintendent among the highest paid in our county while our teachers are the lowest? Take a moment to consider what this out of balance must do to our teachers' morale. After 2 years of reinventing the wheel over and over again, as a result of our district leadership's inability to provide timely and common sense planning and guidance during the pandemic, and then being the scapegoat and focal point of ridicule in the form of a giant lit up billboard, I personally would have left for higher pastures months ago. This should be low-hanging fruit for the board, an easy win in a sea of difficult decisions ahead of you. Please push to make the teachers a budget line item and provide teachers the respect and compensation they are worth before it is too late. Thank you for your time.
Tanisha Burnell.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tanisha Burnall, and I live at 7664 Wild Rose Way in Roanoke Park, and I am the current art docent for Evergreen Elementary School. I am not a parent in this district. I am a future parent of this district. I am not a staff member of this district. I have done yard duty at within this district, but I want to explain, or I want to talk to you guys about something. See, on October 1st, I wrote an email to each individual board member and Dr. Perez, in which I asked, how many jobs do you work in order to be able to live here? That's a simple question, okay? It's a personal question. I wasn't asking to get into all the negotiation facts, just wanted to know a number, that was it. I stated that my husband, a teacher in this district, has to work an extra 7 jobs throughout the year minimum. Now, honestly, I didn't think I'd get a response from you guys, or if I did, I expected to get an answer like Trustee Wing sent me, which, by the way, thank you for at least acknowledging my email. You are the only one who did. Which is bad business etiquette for you guys, which is really sad. So the next morning, I found that I got an email with my subject line that I wrote to you guys, but it came from my husband. You see, Dr. Perez decided to email my husband and not me to respond to my email. My husband was not CC'd nor BCC'd in that email. To which she stated, during my 34 years in education, I have attempted to treat everyone that I cross paths with in a respectful manner. I believe I've been respectful to you as well. I hope you understand why I've chosen not to respond to your wife's email. Dr. Perez, I've never spoken at a board, and I have been with my husband since 2013. Congratulations, I'm speaking tonight because you officially disrespected someone. You disrespected me. You literally, this is how I perceived it, you tattled on me to my teacher. Now in kinder and TK, kids are taught not to tattle. You literally tattled on me. Honestly, thankfully, I have an amazing husband who thanked me and supported me for writing that email. He didn't even know I wrote it at first. He was snoring next to me. I wrote at 9 o'clock at night. But honestly, the whole day after I read after I read that you had emailed him and what you had said, I perceived it as you trying to tell me to hush my mouth because you told my husband, a man, that you are not going to be responding to me. And that hurt, which is why I'm speaking here tonight. I want people to understand that these educators are not asking for a raise. They are not asking for a Christmas bonus that they can, spend on, maybe some new tires on their car or something, or a nice dinner out. They're asking for a living wage. I want you to let that sink in. And yes, we've all heard about the great medical plan that the educators get, which it is. I only spent $30 during my pregnancy and labor for my son. That's it. So I'm not saying it's not a great medical plan, but that should not be something you hold over these educators' heads, period. All educators deserve a great medical plan, every single one of them. It should not be dangled over their heads. Secondly, Dr. Perez, I do believe you also get that amazing benefits package, as well as your phone and car allowance, on top of the $200,000+ salary. But when the school board approved of your 2% raise last month, I don't remember anyone telling you how great of a benefits package you're getting. So I'm gonna ask my original question again. But this time, I ask that everyone in here, please hold up your hands to show how many jobs you work in order to live here. My husband works at least 8, including being a teacher. He has been in this district 12 or 13 years. Sadly, he was told, not sadly, correct myself. He's been working since he was 5 years old in the fields, picking grapes, raking, and his dad, my father-in-law, told him, if you don't want to work with your hands in this hard, laborious job, you need to get out and go to college and get a successful career. My husband had that drive, hearing his father say that. And yet, my husband, who has a bachelor's degree and a teaching credential, has to work 7+, 8+ jobs throughout the year. He's a coach at Tech Middle. Sometimes he's coached both 7th and 8th grade boys basketball team because no one else would coach. He works side jobs for realtors. He actually tonight was working at SCO doing a seminar. So I basically saw him walk in the door, walk out, and then I walked out. That shouldn't be the case. He's been in this district a long time. What's sad is not only does he have to do that, we qualified for the Housing Land Trust of Sonoma County, which is an amazing program, which, if you guys don't know, that means we were sold our house at below market rate. And yet we still have to work all of these jobs. I'm a graphic designer, I'm an art docent at the best elementary school ever. Sorry, everyone else. I do freelance work. I sell decals to the Crooked Goat through one of our teachers in this district. And I am now a published children's book author. We should not have to work all of these jobs in order to live here. So board members, you not only need a plan for these amazing educators, but you need a plan for their families. You need a plan for all of us. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Lisa Rasmussen.
Testing. Good evening. So I'm Lisa Rasmussen. I've lived here since I was 8. We came here from Vallejo. Safe to say, good choice for my mom. It was amazing. It was a great school. I went to Evergreen. I went to Creekside, which is now Lawrence Jones, and I went to Rancho. We did not have this really cool building when I was here. I am so grateful. Teachers were, like, I was really poor, so my teachers were my confidants, right? Like, they could look at me and be like, something's up, stay in my room. I don't recognize that anymore. You guys are all talking about money, which is very important, I agree, but I just don't see that same energy. I had a whole thing planned up, but you guys all inspired me to respond, so here I am. I just don't see or feel as a parent. I have a 1st grader in this district at Monte Vista and a 6th grader at Tech Middle School, and my twins will be kindergartners at what we assume Monte Vista, unless we get to Texas before next year starts. So I'm gonna have 4 kids in this district, and it does not feel the same. There's a few of you left, And I'm still friends with Miss Scardina, with Charmaine, with Mr. Torrey, like all these people who were so important to me. And like, I don't see my kid having that. Like I said, I had a whole thing to write. I'm a really great writer. Some of you got my email if you work at Thomas Page. No one responded, except for the one person who didn't get it, which was Amy Miller. But we're working on that with the formal complaint. Anywho, so I had a whole thing that was really great, but then all of your comments just inspired me. I wanted to point something out, that I love all of you as teachers. It's really important. I definitely can't afford private school. We rely on public school, and Roanoke Park is a community. My husband's here also. We both went to Rancho. Never thought we'd end up together. It's really cool. We love our city, and it's changing in a bad way, and you guys aren't being paid enough. That's not good. But like I said, I don't see the same energy. Like, if that's a reason you're running out of energy, then find a new job, because our kids really rely on this. And if you're not willing to do it for pennies, then just don't do it. I don't know. I clean for people at my church for free out of the kindness of my heart. I don't know. Like you said, there's other districts that pay you more. Go there, and then I guess we'll deal with it. I don't know. But just like, anyway, another thing. When I went to high school, I graduated in 2008. We weren't allowed to wear red or blue because in a group setting, it was intimidating. And here you are trying to get what you want from these board members who also work to try to live here, who some of them have been here for very long. Some of them are your guys' students. I mean, come on, it's like an intimidation factor. It's also very communism-y, you know. Some of us parents are watching that and we don't like it. We're watching it, we're not okay with it. I also wanted to point out that with this whole coming out thing and stuff, stop talking about sex and gender and all that with my kids. My kids are confused. My 6th grader wore a rainbow mask in support, okay? And also because she thought it was pretty. It had all the colors. All day long, she was called a lesbian and asked if she was coming out. Not that either of those things, water break, hang on. Not that either of those things would be bad, in my opinion, or hers, but it was intrusive to her. So now, a very innocent thing, my 4-year-olds love rainbows, is equated to something, which I'm not trying to change that. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying these are the ripple effects. The same way that a student deserves to be safe and comfortable with who they are and what they feel like, so does my daughter. She doesn't need to be worried about being called a lesbian because of what color she wears. Like, and I know you can't control that, but it's this. I just want to say as a parent that that's where it's affecting my kid. So there's my daughter goes to Tech Middle School, and there is definitely an LGBTQ and allies club, which I think is awesome. What I don't think is awesome is that my 6th grader had this really great idea to start a Constitution club, not to be confused with a conservative club, but a Constitution club. Nobody will host it. So while we are saying we need safe spaces for our children to engage in important topics, we need safe spaces for our children to have their beliefs respected and all that good stuff. That's not happening for my kid, and she's confused, and I'm having a hard time answering it because I don't want to paint our district bad or our teachers, because I don't think they're bad, but I'm like, yeah, you're right, that is kind of unfair, that is kind of weird. So now I'll kind of segue into what I did write was, where was I? So where are our leaders, right? Because if there's people here who don't agree with the masks, I don't. I think if your kid wants to wear one, they should. And if you want your kid to wear one, they should. But they shouldn't have to if they don't want to or if their parents don't want them to. So if there are teachers or staff members or board of trustee members who don't agree with that, then why are they silent? Why aren't they standing up? Where's the leaders? And I want you to understand that if we all agree, if we all have the same thought on everything all the time, that is kind of alarming as educators, is it not? We should not all be the same. We should all have our own ideas and our own views and have that respectfully, sincerely appreciated, and we should be celebrating our differences, right? My daughter with conservative beliefs, who believes in Jesus and believes in certain things that are just not cool today, is conflicted, and she shouldn't be. Just like her gay and lesbian friends should not be conflicted or harassed or bullied or pointed out. So I'm wondering why there's no educator at Tech Middle School willing to host a club that just wants to teach kids about the Constitution. It's not to be confused with a conservative club, not to be confused with Jesus. I even told my daughter, you will scare people away with that. Don't do that, because that's not what your club is meant for. It's constitution, literally to talk about that document and what was going on when they wrote that. Why'd they feel they need to write that? And who wrote that? And I feel like they should know. And obviously we learn that in history. It's just, as we all know as parents and educators, they listen to their friends more than they listen to the parents and educators. It would be nice to have those kind of views represented, because there's plenty of parents here who are too afraid to speak up because you're called racist if you're conservative here in Roanoke Park, but that's not always true. So they're silenced and they're quiet. I'm not. So I'm just hoping to find a balance. I'm hoping that my daughter can value the balance the same way that I grew up here and learned balance for that reason. My teachers did a great job. I never knew any of their political beliefs. I still wonder, Mr. Hunt, if any of you knew Mr. Hunt. I had him for government. And I still wonder sometimes late at night in bed, God, was he conservative? Was he liberal? God, he just taught me so much, and he let me be late sometimes if I brought him a Dr. Pepper and a donut. And he did not ever let on to me what he believed or what he agreed with or didn't, and I want to see that again. I want to see that again. You guys will see me again. I'll speak again next month, but thank you. And I hope you guys do get the money you deserve. It's really expensive here. I got to clean houses on the side. He has to work all day. It's crazy, but it's also not their fault. Let's vote on that and get you more money. But please, yeah, let's keep Roanoke Park really awesome. Thank you.
Seven A, Student Board Members Report. We will go with, I hope I say your name right, Dippin Tinsina.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. Since the last report was postponed, I would like to address the events in both September and October. Tech High had a scheduled club rush on September 3rd, and it was very much a success. We had tables set up outside with music, and there was a lot of student engagement. Currently, we have 15 clubs on campus, including medical, sustainability, robotics, interact, and art, to just name a few. We then had our back-to-school rally on September 10th, where both drama and band were able to give a performance, and the talents of our student body were showcased. Our back-to-school dance was later that evening on the 10th, with the theme being There's No Place Like Home, which was able to connect with our overarching theme of Welcome Home. In total, we had around 120 attendees at the dance, and it was surreal to be able to have a dance after a year and a half. We then celebrated School Custodian Day and were able to get a few gifts to our amazing custodians in appreciation of their hard work. We also had our first prospective student night on Zoom, where parents and students were able to ask questions about the Tech High community. There were around 75 families from around Sonoma County that got to hear from both students and teacher speakers. Our next prospective student night is going to be on October 19th, which is tonight, for any students looking to attend our school. Our first ACT of the school year was held on October 5th on campus, and the makeup day was earlier today. We also had our first PSAT on October 13th. Our second PSAT day will be on October 26th, and we are super proud of all the Titans pushing through the first quarter back in school. We also started our first middle school visits with Lawrence C. Jones. A few members from ASB went to speak to the 8th graders of LJ to share about what Tech High has to offer and to help them start the process of deciding which high school will work best for them. We shared about our experiences as students and the basis of how our school operates. Our next visit is to Thomas Page Middle School, which will be on the 20th, and hopefully a visit to Tech Middle School in the near future. For our upcoming events, we have homecoming on October 23rd with our theme being Starry Night. Although we normally host it at the Double Tree, this year it will be on our campus. Next will be our dodgeball tournament on October 28th, where students can play for a fee of $10 and in groups of 10. It will both be a fundraiser for ASB and a way for our students to connect. Following the 28th will be our movie night on the 29th. ASB is working with PTSA to host a Halloween movie night on our campus. There will be snacks, and we will be playing the original Ghostbusters. A few weeks ago, our school was awarded with the National Blue Ribbon Award. It will recognize the school for their academic excellence and their ability to close learning gaps in different student subgroups. We are one of 4 California schools awarded, and it has been a great achievement for our school. On November 4th and 5th, Ms. Manwini, Ms. Spencer, Dr. Perez, and Ms. Campos are invited to attend the ceremony in Washington, D.C. to accept this award. District tours are scheduled for November 12th. However, unfortunately, this will only be for middle schools in our district, so we encourage students from out of district to attend the prospective student Zooms. And finally, our blood drive was postponed to November 30th. That is all for this month's report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Caitlin Antonetti.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me here this evening. Last week was our homecoming spirit week. Tuesday it was color by class. Freshman was green, sophomore pink, junior blue, and seniors red. Wednesday was anything but a backpack day. Students brought things such as toaster ovens, strollers, shopping carts, and more to hold all of their school items. Thursday was 2000s Day, so people brought out like their old Juicy Couture tracksuits and were wearing lots of just festive outfits. And Friday was Rancho Blowout. We had a rally on Friday as well. It was outdoors on our football field. The theme was Wizard of Oz, There's No Place Like Home. We had cheer, choir, drama club, and band perform. We also had the national anthem sung. We announced our homecoming royalty for the freshman, sophomore, and junior classes. For the past 2 years, we have not announced a king and a queen necessarily, and we have kept it gender neutral. Our royalty was based on our core principles, R for RCHS, R, remember the why and respect the paw, C, create unity, H for have an open mind and a helpful heart, and S, spark the spirit and support the success. Freshman royalty was crowned to Bryn Morgan Rebecca and Tapia Gomez. Sophomore crowned to Jaden Bennett and Jessica Williams. Junior royalty was crowned to Melanie Maldonado Placencia and Ismael Sandoval. We announced our senior royalty during the halftime at the football game last Friday, and there were 2 winners, both Keani Neal and Ryan Kane. We had our homecoming floats as well for each class with the theme of fairy tales and home is where our story begins. In first place were the seniors with the theme Hansel and Gretel, juniors with Little Red Riding Hood, freshmen with Jack and the Beanstalk, and sophomores with King Midas. Our Rancho football team took the win on our homecoming game, 28-0 against Ukiah. The girls' golf team got second place overall, and some members moved on to NCS tournaments. Volleyball also took the win in their game against Healdsburg last Thursday. We also had our PSAT on October 16th, the same day as homecoming, and lots of students came out and took that practice test. We have also been putting a fundraiser together called Haunt My House, and we did this last year as well. This is where students that attend Rancho go to a person's home to decorate their house for Halloween. And basically we put on spider webs and pumpkins and give them some candy. We have reached out to many members in our community and have already had a lot of signups and are already starting to decorate. And as it is October, that means it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Every year we recognize this month by raising money for Sutter Women's Health Clinic in Santa Rosa. We donate all proceeds to them, and so far we have collected over $1,000, all from our students donating each week. We still will be collecting next week, and our students have been very generous so far with their donations to help support this cause. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Item 7B, Rohnert Park Cotate Educators Association Report.
Look, I'm getting better at it. I'm already here. Thank you. So good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Perez, student board members, other district leaders, principals, fellow educators, parents, and students. Before I start my president's report, bye, have a good night. Before I start my president's report, I need to acknowledge Mindy McKeon's service to this district as the executive secretary to superintendent. We thank her for her dedication, assistance, and communication these last 27 and a half years. We wish her a wonderful retirement. Well, it's already October, and we were refreshed with rain. Our school sites, following a traditional calendar, have been in session for almost 10 weeks, and our year-round site has just returned from their fall break. We welcome our new site, Virtual Learning Academy, as well. Fall is an opportune time for educators to focus on Native Californians who settled along the West Coast some 10,000 years ago. More than 300,000 people and 200 tribes populated the state. The California Indian History Curriculum Coalition map shows that we stand on Wapo and Coast Miwok territories with Pomo land nearby. Although school was not in session on October 11th, many observed Indigenous Peoples Day, a holiday that honors the history and contemporary experiences of Native peoples in the Americas. November is Native American Heritage Month, a time to celebrate diverse cultures, traditions, and histories, and to acknowledge the important contributions of Native people. One way we can acknowledge the contribution of Native people is explained in California Assembly Bill 1968 Tribal Land Acknowledgement Act of 2020. This bill encourages schools and other public institutions to recognize tribes as traditional stewards of the land. It encourages public educational, cultural, and recreational institutions to voluntarily adopt land acknowledgement processes through means such as printed statements, plaques, websites, and social media. I urge the board to consider and adopt such an acknowledgement process. We can and should acknowledge the original land stewards where our facilities are built on. This has been a busy month for educators and students. Despite the ongoing complications of being back in school during COVID, and despite the very, very full plates educators are carrying, there is much to celebrate and acknowledge. I need to preface that I'm not leaving anyone out, but I'm just sharing what was shared with me. So at Richard Crane Elementary, Ellen June Kiliani, second graders are learning about maps in North America. They'll be building maps of the continent with salt dough, then painting and labeling the maps. This hands-on, high-interest activity is also a way to access learning. At Monte Vista Elementary, first grade has been exploring sound and science, and the students are using recycled materials to create instruments, to create vibrations and changing pitch. Additionally, Deb McCampbell has been using toolbox lessons to create discussions with her students that center around their emotions and well-being. These discussions are one of her favorite times of the day when students can share their feelings and learn how to be empathetic and vocalize how they feel inside. She added, "The deep breaths help us all." Lastly, Monte Vista has created virtual assemblies where they highlight student achievements and give their students the chance to be on screen for reciting the pledge or singing our school song. These have been uplifting and allow us to connect in a safe way. At University Elementary La Fiesta, Jessica Gillian's fifth graders are engaged in weekly nature journaling in their school garden. They're learning to use scientific observations in their writings and drawings that include math data as well. She also shared that everyone looks forward to Wednesdays when we head out to Nature Journal. Tomorrow, they're planning on taking a field trip, unless it's pouring, to the Laguna de Santa Rosa to identify oak trees and native plants and document their findings. At Technical Middle School, some of Mary Niederberger's SDC students are building robots in Andrew Harper's Lego Robotics elective class, or working at TMS's Eye of the Tiger Cafe, sponsored by Bella Rosa Cafe, which grew out of PLCs. Educational specialists throughout the school district are collaboratively working to develop valuable learning loss plans for students. This will ensure our students continue to receive a quality education while maintaining graduation status, meeting their individual goals, and recovering skills they may have lost during the COVID distance learning. And for high-risk students, SPED staff are coordinating with the Virtual Learning Academy for some placements. Rancho Cotate High School's biology and AP environmental science teacher, Lisa Bauman, shared that some of our students are pictured in an October 1st Press Democrat article. 12 amazing young women are participating in SCO's newly formed Environmental Justice Coalition, which is a year-long project-based learning and leadership program where students identify an environmental justice issue and create and develop an action plan. Rancho Cotate's Jennifer Parchman and Valerie Gansler's collaboration has been focused to diversify and strengthen the junior English curriculum. One unit asked students to write an argumentative essay on Native American appreciation versus appropriation after studying rhetorical devices and reading a variety of articles on this subject. Another unit explores Amanda Gorman's 2021 presidential inauguration poem, The Hill We Climb. Students look at the meaning, rhetoric, figurative language, and then are asked charged and challenging questions modeled after Gorman's TED Talk. In Julia Rinaldi's Art and Design 2D class, students just finished an affirmations art composition using written positive affirmations in their own creative way, focusing on a compositional arrangement. One of the drawings is of a colorful sun, and on each ray there's an affirmation. I stand up for myself, and my needs matter. Those affirmations weighed heavily on me. Last weekend was homecoming. At Rancho Homecoming Rally, part of the program was to announce homecoming staff alumni. They acknowledged teachers and staff who graduated from Rancho and now teach and help in the district. There were 15 from leadership, and I taught almost all of them. From leadership advisor and management events teacher Jessica Holman, who graduated in 1986, to education specialist Dylan Rossanini in 2010. Our teachers are committed to this community. They grew up here, serve here, and want to continue to be able to afford to live in their beloved community. These are only a few examples and a testament to the dynamic teaching and dedication prevalent in this district. Our very own teachers are moving the curriculum forward to meet the educational and social well-being needs of all students. Our teachers have a vision and an expectation for the very best for students. This is why we're calling on the superintendent and the Board of Trustees to take action and have this shared vision that attracts and maintains quality educators. This week, just in the last couple days, members signed a petition in support of our bargaining team in our collective effort for a strong contract with fair wages and working conditions. In just a few days, over 245 educators have signed this petition. More than ever, now is the time to present a solid multi-year deal so we can retain the talented teachers that are invested in the success of this district. Currently, we're at impasse, but tomorrow is mediation. We are hopeful that the Board of Trustees and Superintendent heard the stories and perspectives that were recently emailed from fellow teachers and educators. We are hopeful that the Board of Trustees and Dr. Perez heard the perspectives that were recently emailed from parents and community members. RIPSIA recently held a virtual community forum, and it is evident parents support us. We hope the board used their own independent investigation of the district's financial reports, as our bargaining team did. We hope the superintendent and board researched how other districts were able to offer their teachers multi-year agreements and will follow suit. We hope the board heeded this urgent call to reallocate the funds and invest in your most precious resource, the educators of this district, so we can provide the very best educational experience for our students. I still have hope that you, the board, and you, the superintendent, make the right decision to invest in our district. Tomorrow, we will see. Thank you for your time.
Item 7C, receipt of official correspondence.
Yes, we have three correspondence. The first letter is from Sonoma County Office of Education notifying us that our LCAP meets all the requirements outlined in Ed Code 52070. We also received a notification from SCO that our adopted budget has been reviewed and approved by the Sonoma County Office of Education. And you also have before you the the annual insurance reports from Redwood and Pire schools.
Did anybody have any questions? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 8A through 8N?
I move that we approve the consent agenda from 8A through 8N.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 0. Educational Services, approval of ESSER III plan.
Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Perez. This is our item of the approval of the ESSER III plan. It is, the plan is the next of the ESSER funds. The other ESSER funds did not call for a plan, but ESSER III does. Our plan needs to be submitted to the state at the end of this month and to SCO as well. And so these are stimulus funds that were in response to COVID-19, and these funds have 3 specific categories that I will present to you briefly, and then happily answer any questions. So the 3 sections, and our LCAP goal alignment is very tight with these plans. All of our plans are referring back to our LCAP goals, which have embedded metrics and the steps that we're taking to reach the goals in our district. So the ESSER III plan has 3 sections, and so the first of these 3 sections are the strategies that we have for continuous, safe, in-person learning. And so that you can see that the actions that we're taking here, starting with the Virtual Academy, the Virtual Academy is part of keeping students that feel safer in a virtual setting. I know it's a little ironic that this is about in-person learning and the first thing here is the Virtual Academy, but it's about that parental choice to have a student in a Virtual Academy set out by AB 130. So as you've seen in other plans, other COVID funding sources and other forms of relief are providing funding for what we're calling year 1, year 2. This plan is a 3-year plan. So some of these items I'll point out what's being funded in year 3, because we might have ESSER II or the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant funding years 1, 2 of some of these initiatives. So I try to call that out so that you could see what it is that's being funded out of the ESSER plan, ESSER III. So the next item here is the Student, Family, and Wellness, which is very important right now to make sure that our students all feel and staff have provided the wellness resources. And as approved in prior plans, we have our Assistant Director, again funded out of a different funding source for year 1, and moving out looking at continuing funding in years 2 and 3 out of the ESSER plan. And we're working on establishing a universal screener that every single student in our district will take to identify their greatest areas of need so that we can support them appropriately.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
When you talk about years 1, 2, and 3, what years do those correlate to?
Yes. So this current year, 21, 22 is year 1. 22, 23 is going to be year 2. And 23, 24 is year 3.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question since we're on the slide.
Yes.
I thought the virtual academy was only going to be for 2 years and then we were going to reassess. Are you saying now it's going to be 3 years?
We don't know, and this is just a plan. We wanted to make sure that we budgeted for it. It is significantly a decrease in FTEs from where we are this year. And if we do not see this being something that we need to continue or that we make a different decision about it, we can come back to this plan and revisit it. What we need to submit is what we're thinking right now, and then we can always come back and reassess as new needs arise.
So the staffing for the virtual academy is what we would want to do in year 3, not what it currently is right now?
Correct.
Thank you.
And it all depends on just how many families stay with us.
Yeah.
Is it sustainable through ADA or not? And we also don't know what new laws or requirements might come later. So just planning, but that is a very fluid part of the plan.
And that's where the new IT person would come in, is if this continued in year 3, you would need that additional support?
We have that IT position currently,
Okay.
supporting the Virtual Learning Academy and supporting families in general with technology needs. We did hire another person in IT this year out of a different funding source in response to COVID, the same with the clerical and the paraprofessional. These are positions that we currently have in place, but out of a different funding source.
Okay.
Can I ask one more? Sorry.
As many as you'd like, Trustee Wing.
So like the universal screener, if we don't have to do that in year 2 and 3, then that position, obviously we would change that to something else. So if the COVID screening and stuff kind of fizzles out.
So the universal screener is specific to social emotional needs of students.
Oh, okay. I was thinking contract tracing. Sorry.
I know, there's so many, yes.
Okay.
I hope we're not contract tracing in year 3.
That's what I was thinking, is we were still planning in 3 years from now, and I was
really
thinking,
hope we're
dear
not.
God, please. Okay.
Yes, so the universal screener is an assessment of how students are feeling and responding to their environment. So we do want, this year will be the baseline year. It'll help establish needs, and then we can determine what other supports we need in the coming years. I anticipate that that's not something that we want to have disappear after 2024, but that we would want to see how to continue that type of support for students. Along those lines are community liaisons. So this year we have 3 positions. And again, the current year funding for this position is the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant, which you approved already in a previous meeting for year 1. Remember, that was a 1-year funding plan. So I'm hoping to show you a little bit of how these plans stack on each other to carry us through initiatives for at least 3 years. These positions have been amazing already. You heard our principal from Tech High describe the importance of the community liaison. She's there 1 day a week. The other 4 days she's here at Rancho, and we have other community liaisons doing phenomenal work. We're hoping to hire 1 more very soon. And this is an initiative we'd like to expand in the future if we can. The mental health counseling contract is one that we saw a tremendous need for. This is our SOS folks that have been instrumental in supporting student needs. Currently, we have them at our high schools, but not at our middle and elementary schools. And so we want to really expand and have more counseling staff available to students for social emotional needs. We anticipate this universal screener is going to really highlight the needs, and we just want to be prepared to meet the needs of our students. And then more of a real wish list here is to have more support for MTSS. That's the multi-tiered system of support, which is very much the direction that we're thinking about going in to ensure the appropriate supports for students. It's MTSS. At another board meeting, I'm happy to present more about our MTSS process and journey. So what we would like to do is ensure that we are always coupling academic and learning needs with social emotional learning needs of students, and that we don't see this as separate initiatives in the district, but that we look at children through a whole child lens, and that our staff is prepared for that equally. So you'll see here, this is a true wish list of having 3 TOSAs, that's a teacher on special assignment. We would not even look at posting these positions until we have been able to fulfill other things that we've wanted to, like having more support in our classrooms directly. So this is not something that we would look to fill until we've been able to do a little bit more of the class size reduction that I'll show you in a minute, we're hoping to have. So this is really down the line, should we have more staffing availability in the district. But these would be folks that would help support as with behavioral support, with PBIS support, and as MTSS coaches, which are important for teachers to have support with needed interventions in classrooms. We are looking currently at having the behavioral specialist. I believe that position is already underway, as we needed more support with behavioral specialists coming back this year. We've definitely seen a need. And of course, we would provide professional development and curriculum to support these initiatives with this funding.
I have another question. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Since these are one-time dollars, they're not reoccurring, would these positions be one-time positions to match those dollars, and when those dollars go away, those positions are going away?
Yeah, since this plan carries us through 2024, I am looking at other avenues for MTSS funding currently to help build for the coming years.
But these are not added positions that we're adding to our district budget and paying for out of the general fund. These
No.
are specific ESSER funds, because
Yes.
I just want to make that very clear that these
Yes.
are
Or
one-time
other
dollar funds.
MTSS directly related grants that we're working towards. Yes, but not the general fund.
So I have a question that goes along those lines. It's a $5 million ESSER III funds that are included in this. What happens if ESSER III, if that's the end? If there is no more ESSER IV, ESSER III extensions, et cetera, does this program then no longer have any funding
So
after 3 years?
Yeah, these $5 million carry us through the end of 2024.
Okay.
And we don't know what will come next. We believe there might be more coming. So,
But they're all one-time dollars with restricted ways you can spend the money.
correct, which makes planning really tricky. So
Yes.
this plan is really focused on providing sustainable professional development that could be in place to help carry us through once the dollars are gone. To build capacity is really a big part of the goal with this funding, so that we could continue with programs even when the funding goes away.
And if I may add, I mean, you know, this is all because of COVID, right? So we've seen all this impact of COVID, and they're saying, here's the money to take care of the kids, to mitigate that learning loss and all of that. So this is temporary money to fix the problem, and hopefully we can fix the problem in 3 years. Although some of these strategies are very powerful strategies that are good for the district.
The next area in ESSER III is to address lost instructional time. In this area, again, we have funding for our curriculum specialists, which have been amazing already in our district. They've helped put together the plans for short-term independent study. They're out directly working in classrooms. They are leading our adoption committees. They're very hands-on, working directly with teachers. And so we have 2.5 already curriculum specialists doing this work. And years 1 and 2 of their positions, so this year and next year, have a different funding source. We would look at ESSER III for year 3. And then again, begin to look at how do we make this type of work sustainable if we can in the future. The need for curriculum specialists will not go away when COVID goes away. We will continue to need support with curriculum development and overall implementation across the district. We have increased the license for online tutoring. This has been a very popular approach to helping support students. And so we've embedded that cost here in ESSER III for the 3rd year, again, because we have other funding for years 1 and 2. And schools have received an ESSER allocation. Each school site, we built a per pupil model of funding, and the schools are embedding their allocation in their site plans. So when we bring the site plans to you later on this year, you will see how they've allocated the use of the ESSER funds so that they have a direct tie to what they're planning, what they're seeing. Although really everything in this plan directly supports our schools and students, this is a way of schools to have even added ownership and the kinds of things that they stated they would want to do with these dollars. And then we would love to be able to reduce class sizes. It's just, we can't find staff yet, but we remain ever hopeful and strategizing. And I know our HR department is working diligently there. So as I stated, that would be a top priority over any other positions that were new moving forward.
Can I ask a question about that with the staff that it pertains to this plan? When they're hired, are they told that their permanency is contingent upon this plan continuing? I mean, do they know that from the beginning,
Yes.
that it's kind of a gamble?
They know that these are temporary positions. Absolutely.
Okay.
For our online tutoring that we have, is that something that parents can have access to and sign their children up if they see that there's a need? Or is that school teacher driven? Which way, or is it pushed from both ends?
Well, the funds that school sites have received directly, they can put that towards tutoring in whatever fashion, they develop. If teachers want to be available online after hours to tutor or in person, that's truly a school choice.
Okay.
The online tutoring contracts that we have for licenses are currently only in secondary. We're piloting it at the Virtual Learning Academy with younger students to see if that is really an effective tutoring for younger students. It really does call for the student to stay engaged with the tutor. And while they market it for younger students, we're kind of watching how it plays out of the Virtual Academy before we open it up to maybe 4th or 5th graders. But a student logs in, a tutor pops on, they say what they need help with, and they get support any time of day in a number of different languages. So that's the paper tutoring that we've had now since last year. So we're just expanding that.
So our secondary students, if they feel like they need extra help in math, they can go on to papertutoring.com or however they
Yes.
get to it, and just, so they can initiate it themselves?
Yeah, they do
Oh, great.
initiate it themselves, and it's a chat feature. It's not a camera or anything. It's a chat feature.
Great.
I wish I would have had that. I wish my kids would have had that. Would have made chemistry a little bit more viable for us.
Put that in the next district newsletter or your email that goes out? Because I'm not sure a lot of families,
Well, I have a question to piggyback off of that. I just want to be clear. The online tutoring, it's up to, so say there was a student at LJ who wanted help with math at, 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Could they log in and get that help, or would it only be based on what the school has available and students have to pre-sign up, or?
Yeah, so the district has allocated from central ESSER funds a percentage of licenses to every school, every secondary school. And then the schools can use their site ESSER funds to increase those licenses. We
Okay.
didn't want to blanket license everybody. This is not an inexpensive tutoring approach. So we want to make sure that there's actually buy-in from the teachers and the students to use this program. If we begin to see this being incredibly popular and what's holding more kids back is that we need more licenses, we will address that.
Well,
Now,
I can
want
tell
to-
you, excuse me, I think that one of the biggest things I've seen with my grandkids is, I had it with my kids when they were going to school, but to see it as a little bit of a different perspective as a grandparent, I think that for things like some of this crazy math that they're doing, and you've got these parents butting heads with their kids and these arguments that ensue about I hate school, which is where you end up when you don't understand something. I think that for parents, this would be invaluable, particularly in math. I don't know, maybe some of the other subjects, but I think particularly in math, I get, school might only have 10 licenses. That means they could only tutor 10 kids.
Yeah, and schools have far more than 10 licenses. They have a significant amount of licenses. It was one of the consent agenda items is the increase.
Okay.
And I want to point out Temecula Middle School Technology Middle School. TMS will always get me. I'm so sorry.
That's
It was a
okay.
lifetime ago. Tech Middle School is site-wide now at no additional cost. So we worked with the vendor, we shared that they were our Title I middle school, that they were a very high priority to cover without having to do additional investment. And all the students at TMS have licenses. And they are working on a campaign to increase information to parents. And so the company has an entire campaign of information to get parents involved. So,
Okay.
so there's a lot more to it, and I'm happy to provide Dr. Perez with information that she can put in the next board update about this, and you can even see the little trailer of how it works. But we're pretty excited about this, but we're watching it to see. It's a very big investment.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so then the last category, I love it. It's like the most generic category of all times. It's called remaining funds. This is literally the title.
Joanne, can we pause you for a second?
Yeah.
That sound.
What is that noise?
I don't know.
It's really bad.
Well, there's some feedback.
Yeah, it's feedback somewhere in the
Oh,
speakers.
I don't know. I'm turned off completely on my end over
You
here.
hear it, right?
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
All I hear is the horn. She says it sounds like it's just going back in the hall. We're just getting the echo. Sorry.
No, no problem. I'm sorry. Do you want me to speak a little louder? Would that help? Okay,
Can
okay.
the custodian come light a fire? Oh my gosh, it's freezing.
Yeah, it is a little cold. No, I'm sorry. So as I was saying, the last category, they left it really nice and generic for us. It's literally called remaining funds. So it has to be COVID-related in some fashion. So of course, educational technology, now that we've ramped up to be a one-to-one technology district, a device, we're making sure that in addition to other funding sources that we may use for that, that we have some ESSER III funds. The virtual academy, required some support technology-wise that was a little different than the other, than teaching in a non-virtual setting, so we've put that there. And our COVID response staff, which are the staff secretaries that are out supporting the schools every day with contact tracing and setting up for testing and all the different supports that have been needed at the front office because of COVID. So these positions are funded from here as well. So the next steps, the ESSER plan does include how each action will be monitored and the frequency of that monitoring. You have that included in the packet that I provided you. And we're happy to continue to provide reports as we move along with ESSER III planning. And so in our board item, it's a request that the board approve the ESSER III plan.
Where does ESSER III fund show up when you send us our budget and it has the unrestricted and restricted? Is it in there?
Yes, it's in the restricted side of the budget, and
Right.
it has a specific resource code, and I can think of what that is right this
That's
second, but it's labeled
Okay.
in that last packet of stuff that I gave you.
Yeah.
It's on.
Okay.
Instead of I think it said annual update on the ESSER funds. Could we get a little something, maybe quarterly?
My pleasure. Yes, not a problem.
Like this, obviously.
Yeah.
Just a little, like where we're at.
Put there or as requested, Trustee Gillis, so absolutely.
I have a question also. So, one-time funds, 3-year program, there has to be a transition plan of either how this, what do we do at the end? And planning for that, so you're not just working right up to the end and then no more funds and then canceling everything. So I would like to see, as we go further in, how do we transition in or out of this program?
Yes, and I think as we move into year 2, then we have to begin to plan for what year 3 will look like.
Right.
And it really is about creating that capacity building of some things just becoming more of the part of the work that we already do. In particular around supporting social emotional needs of students. So, we kind of put heavy on the PD end, hopefully in these next 2-3 years, and then it just becomes part of the work that we do.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I think we're hitting the door now.
This place is acoustically what?
Do anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve 9A ESSER III plan?
I move that we approve 9A.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 0. Personnel services, no comment.
All right, that's my cue. So provided in the agenda are the district enrollment, monthly district enrollment for September. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. And then if you have any questions about the budget summary, that's just monthly, you know, we're constantly moving towards our next big report, which is first interim, which will be reported to you in December. So we're starting to make some strides in updating the budget, but you know, we've been doing all kinds of other things. So let's talk about enrollment for a second. And I just want to acknowledge my staff for, you know, I think I came across a little not confident about the numbers last time. And I just want to say that, you know, the work that's done, the verification that's done on a daily basis, monthly basis to provide these figures is tremendous. I'm more than confident that these are the numbers at this point. And, you know, at this point we are over 200 students more than we were last year. And, yeah, and it is good news. And if you have any specific questions around sites, I can talk about it. And I'd like to get to a point where, you know, I think I remember in some of the early board meetings I was attending before I started here that Robert would update you on, you know, the ins and outs of kids' enrollment figures. So in September, we had 32 exit and 38 enter. So a difference of 6, a net of 6. Students leaving the district, 6 left for private schools or charters. 9 left the county. 15 left within the county, and 2 were dropped or other. That's the category. And then students entering the district, 1 came from a private school or charter. 17 are entering within the county. Students out of the county were 16, and out of state were 4.
Do you know if the ones leaving for out of county are inter-district transfers, or did they like move to Windsor and they don't want to commute? And I'm not expecting to know right this minute.
Right, yeah.
Just-
Good question. I did not break it out into that kind of detail, but I can find out. Let me see.
Do we know of the ones that came in? Did any come in specifically for the virtual academy?
We are taking,
Well, we,
yeah.
we have the agreement with the 2 districts, and we've received, I want to say, 7 students through that process. But we have had students from other districts transfer in for the virtual academy.
So that seems to be one of the draws.
Yes, and we can work on that exact breakdown.
Yeah, I'd
as
just
well.
be curious of the ones that came in, how many of those are virtual academy? It doesn't have to be exact, but close enough would work.
And moving forward, we're only accepting students from the 2 districts with which we have an agreement.
That's just due to staff constrictions at this time?
Correct.
Restrictions, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay.
We would have to review the numbers, but I believe the last time I reviewed the numbers, we had 14 students that were part of our virtual academy that were from outside the district. That was several weeks ago, so we have to, you know, find that out and provide you with that information. We're happy to do that.
I just wanted to make a comment around ADA, which is related to enrollment, but not exactly the same. I have some information regarding our period 1 attendance, and there are 10 periods of attendance that we report on throughout the year. Period 1 attendance is attendance from 8:16 to 9:10, and then Richard Crane has an extra period. They actually report 11 periods of attendance throughout the year. And, I'm encouraged by this number because based on our enrollment number, which is a higher number than it was last year, we need at around 90% of that number to attend school on a daily basis, just to break even or just to have a flat funding ADA. And period one attendance was 92%. So I know there's all kinds of information or if it's hearsay or whatnot, but 92% of our kids showed up to school between 8/16 and 9/10
Do you know,
of this year.
do you have what that 92% number is or no? I can do the math.
Yeah. I don't have it here, I'm
That's
sorry.
fine, I'll do the math.
So we're basically staying where we need to be for now.
I'm encouraged by it, and it's something that we need to keep monitoring and paying attention to, obviously, and that's just one of 10 periods, so we're obviously concerned about it, and we'll continue to monitor that number.
And I'm assuming that the walkout or whatever it's called from yesterday did not affect our attendance.
No, it did not.
Okay.
What we did was we compared yesterday's attendance to the week prior, and we actually had more kids in school, or less kids absent than the week prior. So we've been monitoring that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Were there any questions around the fiscal planning, or the other report that I had in there? That's all I have for
You
today.
get as many questions with good news as you do with bad news?
I know, right? It's, we're encouraged by the numbers, but we are also monitoring it on a daily basis.
And we're still getting funding based on period one from 1920?
We're getting funded on P2 ADA
P2.
from 1920, yes.
Okay. Okay. Did anybody else have any other questions?
I
If
have one
not-
question,
oh.
just to make sure I understand, sorry. So at our last meeting, you said our ADA is 5,414, sorry, looking at yours, and we currently have 5,965 students, so we're roughly educating or having to pay for 400 students that we're not currently being paid for, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's.
Okay,
about right.
I just wanted to. And then ADA will adjust again next year,
ADA will adjust, yeah.
or we have the potential for ADA to adjust next year. Okay.
One never knows.
Right.
As of
But
right
it's
now,
interesting
that
to
is
know
the
how
plan.
many students we're being paid for versus how many students we are providing for,
Funding, no.
or being funded for through the LCFF.
Another way of saying that, we're being underfunded
Yeah.
based upon the number of students we have.
Well, and I think that's why they decided to pick a period too in the year prior to COVID to say, hey, you're going to get the same whether you have more students or whether you have less. The fear was that there would be less.
Oh, yeah, you hear in other districts, there's
Yeah.
1,000 kids less.
Well, and you saw the article today from EdSource about enrollment dropping over the next decade.
Yeah.
11.2%, yeah. So it's something to keep an eye on for sure. Okay, 12B, first reading, review revisions to Board Policy 0470, COVID-19 mitigation plan.
Okay, so this policy is related really to what we're doing in terms of providing that independent study and support for our students. So it really talks about the COVID safety plan, which is going to be, we've updated it. If you recall, we updated it in June. We have just finished it and it'll be uploaded to the website on Monday is our goal. And this is something that we have to do every 6 months. So we're right in target and this will reflect the new guidance. Anyway, so this is all about what we're going to do to support the students in terms of supplemental education and all that related to COVID. So that's the first reading of that policy.
And that's just a discussion, right? Okay.
Right, this is a discussion.
Does
an
anybody have
opportunity
any
to ask
questions? If not, we'll move to 12C, first reading, review revisions to board policy 3516.5, emergency schedules.
This, again, is related to COVID. This is that we're going to provide independent study to impacted students if there happens to be a school closure. So we're going to provide that. We're going to have a master agreement in place. So this is related, again, to independent study and to any emergencies that would close our schools, which we're not going to have that. We're done with closures. That's my goal.
Any questions or comments? 12D, acceptance of gifts and donations to the school district. We have a $304,561 donation from Grayton Rancheria, and we thank them for that immensely. Can I get a motion to approve 12D, acceptance of gifts and donations to schools and districts?
I'll make a motion to approve 12D, acceptance of gifts and donations.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, 0. 13A, board member reports and future agenda items. Mark?
I would like to apologize for not being here last session. I know I missed a vote. I was dealing with the tragic loss of one of our students and family friend and member of our congregation, and trying to I guess mitigate that escalating problems with other kids. So I apologize for that. And I know I missed that vote, so I apologize. I do want to do a little shout out for the Rancho Cotate sports. I know the girls volleyball and girls golf and the football team are really doing well. It seems like they're saving up all of their frustrations from last year and putting it into this year. So I'm glad that they're able to do that. So thank you to all of those coaches and for all the staff that are working hard and trying to help get us through COVID and over COVID. So thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
I'll turn myself on here. So as you know, I've been taking the Masters in Governance class training. So since the last time we saw each other, they had 2 this month. So I completed fiscal planning and training for budgets. And it was really interesting because it's a 2-day session, and half the session was just kind of talking about the unknown of the future. And unfortunately, no one there had a crystal ball to tell us what was going to happen. But and it was really interesting too, talking to the other districts and how they're handling their one-time dollars and what CSBA's advice was regarding one-time dollars. And I am happy to report I didn't have any oh my gosh, we're doing it wrong moment. So congratulations to John and them that we are following CSBA's advice when it comes to fiscal planning. So thank you for that. The other class was about HR and contract negotiations, and with what we're going through right now, it was just really reassuring to hear about the process and how it works, and same thing with CSBA's guidance. So it's great to kind of get together and talk to other districts just to hear. I never realized before becoming a school board member that we're all independent little businesses, and the way we run it can be different than Petaluma and Santa Rosa and Temecula or anything else. So it's really great. There's no, short of the Brown Act and a couple of things, there's really no rules that say how to do this, and so it was really great talking to other districts, and I was really proud to talk to them about some of the really great things that we're doing here too. So that's what I've been busy doing.
Super.
Yeah.
Left.
So Lef attended the homecoming game in all the facilities, and I encourage the next game for the ranch will be away, but the 2 following games after that with Windsor and Cardinal Newman should be a packed house. So I encourage everyone, if you
I saw you there, Lef.
You saw me there? Okay, all right. Good.
Just come
Well,
pick
then
me up and I'll
yeah.
go.
Yeah, so they will be exciting. It's fun to do. There's some of the fun things to do. So I encourage everyone to to go do that type of thing. So I guess the cougar mascot got lost and then showed up a few days later here, wobbly.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's a cougar or mountain lion. I don't know about the mascot, but I mean, that was a little excitement too type of thing.
By the way, cougars are known as cougars, mountain lions, and pumas, so.
So he came to life, you know,
She's a
'cause
fan.
it was all
That's
the
right.
excitement, and then got confused in the creek, and glad everything worked out there. So I would imagine that was scary for the people that saw it and things. So good story, good ending. That the animal will go back to where it is and things like that. So we have a similar thing. We have a visiting bear that visits our Auburn house all the time. So it's always kind of like, oh, the bear's here. It hasn't come in yet, so but lots of good things happening. That's it.
Okay. I just have three things. I would like to request a facilities meeting. We haven't had one for quite some time. I'm really interested in learning more about the tutoring program. And I want us to take a look at sub-pay. And I know that we've talked about it before, Myra.
Yes.
I also know that districts are offering $350 a day and still can't get subs. So I think we need to kind of get creative on what we're going to do to maybe bring some people in. That's a kind of an important, urgent thing, I think.
So can I add a question on sub-pay? Can we use one-time funds for sub-pay? Okay.
We can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want.
Well, not quite.
We can.
More than reason.
Okay, then.
We can do that if that's how you want to do it, or we can pay what we would have paid out of the regular fund and then supplement it with.
Well, wherever you take money from, it's going to take money away from something else because you have a budget and you've allocated funds.
Right.
So if you're going to increase, sub-pay, and that's a $100,000 item, say, per year, then that $100,000 comes out of something else. And if it's on, the general fund ongoing, that's going to impact something else. So if it can come out of the one-time funds, that would be an advantage. But again, you set the bar, and then going down the road when the one-time funds go away, and everyone's still paying, let's say, $300 a day, then it impacts your funding.
I would hope that similar to what we did to increase the rate recently would be a temporary increase.
Right.
Like during this
during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
it was about a year ago that we looked at the sub rate and we increased it, and of course, as soon as we increased it, then all of a sudden we were behind, right?
Yeah.
So we do need to look at that. I think we increased it. We did the temporary increase through December, so we have been discussing that. Do we, raise the sub rate? Although, I know that it's been raised. Bottom line, we are still short subs.
Yeah.
So, we're still going to be competing for subs. So, but we can definitely, we've been discussing that and what we're doing to help with the sub situation. I want to applaud HR. They've called every sub on the list and they're saying, would you like to sub, to reconnect? Because I know that we had an extensive list and said, we have 85 people on this list, but we didn't know that they were truly available and willing to sub for us. So now we're going through and doing that extra personal touch to determine if folks want to work for us. And then we're getting information like, this district pays a little bit more. So we're doing that research and we're definitely going to consider that.
Yeah, I would like to have the discussion that talks about, sub-pay. Is it possible that we can get parents who have a BA to come in and sub?
I got a recruiting email to parents of Rancho Cotate students for something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if after they teach for so many days, do we offer a bonus? I know people are doing all kinds of things, so I think we need to think outside the box. So if anybody has any ideas.
Well, what happens is you have the daily rate, but then after they become a long-term, it's a little bit more. So we're definitely looking at that.
Okay.
We have definitely sent out information. Trustee Nelson, thank you, because that is Sonoma County Office of Education is assisting us with that and having virtual job fair. We are now having virtual job fairs for substitutes, something I've never heard of in my career, but we are doing that because we need to get substitutes.
one more thing, sorry, I know it's past my turn. When the Tech High student was giving the report, they said that there wasn't a date scheduled for Tech Middle for them to visit the school to talk about it, and to go in line with, you know, what Michelle was saying about how you want to increase our middle school enrollment. Can you just let the board know when that date has been scheduled and make sure that we get
Absolutely.
to all of our schools in a
So the
equal
Tech Middle
fashion?
visit.
Yeah. I just wanted
Yeah,
to make sure.
we're working on that in terms of, because the field trips are all under, I need to know what's happening, so they come to me and we just go over the protocols. But we have said, that question has been asked, and I said, we need to do the visit.
Yeah.
And so it's in the planning. So we will get the dates to you, but we're doing 2 groups to try to keep the kids safe in the multipurpose room, to keep the distancing, right? Because we don't want to put everyone in the multipurpose room at the school.
I'm
So
getting
dates.
emails from schools around us that are already doing it. They're doing 3 days a week for the whole month of October for an all-day shadow. So
Okay.
I know that it's going on, so we kind of, to add to the pot of enough things to do. I think we need to take a look at maybe expanding it a little bit, maybe one-on-one, so we still keep people safe.
And then so out of district, they're only allowed, there's no shadow or come to the school or open house or anything for out of district at this point?
I don't know. I'd have to ask the principal.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I will not forget item 13B, superintendent's report. Every time, it's time to go home. Sorry.
Thank you for not forgetting.
I know, I was waiting for it to get poked. Okay.
Just want to let you know that we had a DLAC meeting this week, and we had a few technical difficulties, but we are a persistent group, so we were able to get online a little bit later. We had a pediatrician, Dr. Emmanuel Mendoza, join us to talk about the vaccine. So, we are launching that. The county office is launching pediatric vaccines. So it was an opportunity for parents to hear about the impact of the vaccine and, just an FAQ on the vaccine. I want to applaud Dr. Perez, who was the best teacher of the evening, by turning it over to the parents and saying, I want to hear from you what you think about the ESSER plans and the district. Sometimes when we have committee meetings, the staff will say, oh, I have ideas. Well, we asked the parents, so the parents spoke, and it was a very positive meeting where they said, thank you for the tutoring. Thank you for the social emotional support. And then they asked, how can I get help from my son, my daughter? So it was a lovely meeting, and I want to applaud her because that's who we want to hear from is our parents to let us know what the plan is. We know staff knows, but it's nice to get that perspective. Are we doing a good job? So that was a really great meeting. We also, I met with 2 teachers that are budding administrators. They made me so happy when they said that. And they wanted to talk about equity and the journey of equity and what it involves. So, what do you learn? What are the mishaps? And I have a few of those, what did I learn? Oops, I wouldn't do that again. So we had a really good conversation. It's part of their admin program through the Sonoma County Office of Education, which I've heard colleagues that have gone through it that said it's a phenomenal program. That doesn't happen in every county, so I have to say that I'm really pleased to hear that that's a really good program for our folks that want to be administrators. And they also have a teacher ed program. Anyway, we also attended a legislative roundtable. There's nothing more exciting than having a group of representatives and the superintendents ask very clearly, what are you doing about the fiscal cliff? We're going to have a fiscal cliff, and we're held harmless, and that's all good. We appreciate the money. This is all one-time money. So we had representatives. We were in attendance to listen, but we had 4 superintendents that led the conversation with the panelists, and we talked about the fiscal cliff. Interestingly enough, is they said, what fiscal cliff? Anyway, so we showed them. We had a graph.
So their budgets didn't have the 3rd year in parentheses. Is that what they're saying?
They're not always aware of the impact. So we said, when you pass a legislation like independent study, this impacts us tremendously. We didn't get it till last minute. We're building a program we're flying the plane and we're building the program. So we talked about that. We also talked about the timeline constraints. All of these, you have to spend this money by December 30th. That ties our hands in what we can and cannot do. So we were very specific about that, and it was interesting. I hope they heard us. We also asked, how do you get perspectives from administrators and superintendents? Because we don't, that was our dialogue. So it was a very, very good meeting, but we are trying to advocate for our districts and the reality of, you've given us all this money and we have a staffing shortage. So, we were very clear with them. I'm hoping it didn't fall on deaf ears. You hope that they're getting that, that information in. I also wanted to give you a little bit of an update. You all received the COVID report. And, just as a reminder, we are expecting new guidance November 1st. Hopefully it won't be radically different. To this date, we have about 12 cases in October. So we went from 65 to 43 to 12. I think we're doing a great job, and we're staying open. We are providing the healthcare service of COVID testing, and as you can see, 755 staff members were tested, 1,842 students were tested. And just so that you know, we're investigating rapid testing, and we have two staff members. We have to get a license, we have to go through training. So we have 2 staff members for rapid testing. So, and we're training additional staff. Why are we doing this? Convenience. Really convenience to keep our kids in school. This is healthcare service, and people say, why are you doing this? Why are you engaging this? To keep our students in school, to make it easier for our parents. We prefer not to, but we feel that this is good customer service to keep us in business and keep our kids. So that's, I want to emphasize that we could do other things besides rapid testing, but we want to keep people at work and in school. The last thing is, as you know, the COVID task force meets regularly once a week. We review events, we offer suggestions, and we request advice from Sonoma Public Health, so that we can do things safely. Again, why? We want everybody in school and everybody safe. So that's just a little bit of the information of COVID. Rather than the presentation, I think you know what I have to say, so now it's reporting some of the statistics. Yes?
Quick question. Did you say we have 2 staff members trained to do rapid testing, or we have 2 staff members researching rapid testing?
We have 2 staff members that are already trained to do rapid testing.
Okay.
And we're looking at having more staff. Why? Because if we happen to have a kid comes in, they don't have symptoms, but we can rapid test, or we have a staff member that we have to test. We can do it on the spot. So right now we have 2, but we're looking to have enough so that whatever school we need that help on, a principal calls us, we can send them out, or they're on a particular campus. And we're looking at our staff secretaries for them to be trained. So we're and it takes, we have to take a course or look at some videos and take a test and pass it so that we get the license to administer the rapid test.
And how rapid are the rapid tests?
Immediately.
Yeah, I think they're like 15.
What is it, 15 minutes? Yes. It is 15 minutes.
So are these available to any student right now that needs a test, or is it they meet certain criteria and then they can get the rapid test?
Meeting certain criteria if we want to get a kid in and what have you. It's no secret that we've struggled to get the results from the other testing, and it's just, we've been working really diligently to try to get the results, and people have been lovely and courteous, and I know you want your child back in school, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, because the turnaround could be a week.
Yes, it's
that's a week out of school.
It's less than ideal, so, but we're always working to improve and try to make it better.
So we were finally able to find a company to provide enough rapid tests. We were having that availability issue for a while.
Again, it's the nuances, right? If we have someone with symptoms, Sonoma Public Health says you must give a PCR test.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't have symptoms, I can give you a rapid test. It's very nuanced, and it's case by case and analyzing. And really, why? I want kids in school. So that's my report for tonight, I believe. One last thing. We were invited to the city council meeting. And October is bullying prevention month, so we were presented with this beautiful proclamation to commemorate that, and I invited Dr. Louis Gansler and Principal Lundy to attend with me. So we spoke to the city council, we had a photo opportunity, and we received this beautiful proclamation, and, and knowing that we support, anti-bullying. And that concludes my report.
Well, if that's all, we're going to adjourn the meeting.